Alright, so
Happy Sabbath.
hey guys, happy Sabbath. So we are back with another video in our marriage series.
Yeah.
And today we'll be talking about
Marriage then versus marriage now.
Yeah. And one of the reasons why we're actually gonna do this is because we realized that it doesn't make any sense we speak about, the success to failure rate of marriages now until we address the things that are happening in our society or even the societal structure that affects marriage
No, presently.
that causes a lot of marriages not to be successful, right? Yeah, for the most part it is our attitude towards marriage, our characters that cause marriages to fail. But we also have to take into consideration what society has become, because that has a huge
impact
on
relationships, marriages.
Yeah, and not just whether they, as we said before, end up in a divorce or not, but whether they are happy, whether they are fulfilling, whether these marriages drive us towards our best self, or if it takes so much out of us that we're just barely hanging on. Right?
Yeah.
So basically, if we check the Bible, when Adam and Eve were put together in the garden, they basically had a family business, right? They were both given tasks and they were both working in the same space, right? So they were given the task of dressing and keeping the garden, right? And where we see throughout history that when it comes down to marriage, the ideal is always that the partners, the husband and the wife, work together as best as possible, right? So the idea of a husband having a job, whether it be carpentry or whatever, and then the wife having another job, completely different, probably she's a nurse, doctor, whatever, even though it can work.
And we're not saying it cannot work, but it's not the ideal.
That was not the ideal. The ideal is to have you and your partner work together in everything, even in your occupations. Because what you find in the past that you had a lot of family businesses. So for example, if it was farming, the entire family was into farming. If it was what's that thing called where they make someone else Smith, I don't remember the name, but when they make the swords and whatever, like in the olden days, whatever occupation it was a family business. If it was clothing, sewing clothes, making clothes and selling clothes, it was a family business. Look at the Chinese today. And I was speaking to a young man at the tax office once, and he was saying that one of the things that causes some set of people to be more successful than the others is because they have found the key to how to go about family and family business, while some others have not, right? You recognize that even the Chinese, they always have a family business. So it's not that the father have a wholesale and the mother is doing something else and the son is doing everything else.
Everything is passed on from generation to generation.
And everybody in the family contributes to that business, whatever the business is.
So nobody is left unnoticed, nobody is left to be unproductive.
Yeah. And then you get to spend more time with each other in every sphere, in the business sphere, in the family sphere, everything. So that is the ideal, right? But we know
you can't help but to communicate.
Yeah, right? So and you guys are working together to build a common goal. And we know we live in a society where that is not always easy. I will not say possible, because with Christ all things are possible. I will not say it's not always easy, and most of us don't end up having a family business like that. And sometimes we might end up having to work 9 to 5s until we're able to make a family business where we can have more time, more control over our time, and how we spend that with each other. And one of the reasons why families, as I said, are not successful is because persons branch off on two different directions. One is this doctor, nurse, whatever. One is that police, soldier, whatever. And so you'll find that
in two different environments, you're spending 365 days a year, every single day, in two different environments.
8 hours out of the working days of the week.
Right?
Yeah.
You're left with probably 2, 3, 4 hours with your spouse
in the evenings.
in the evenings, and they're getting the worst because they're exhausted, they're tired, they're really having time.
Yeah, and then on weekends now, you know, sometimes weekends are so packed as well because if you have a side gig to make some extra money, you know, that's on the weekends. By the time you look Sunday, wash, cook and clean, and you're back on Monday again. And that's one of the reasons why the families are under strain, because the parents are so busy trying to build somebody else's dream as opposed to working
On their
dream,
their
which
territory.
is to build whatever you God has called you to build with your family.
God has blessed you with.
Yeah, right? So that's very, very important. So back in the days, whether it was cattle, as we said, whatever it was a family thing. But as the industrial age began in the 1800s coming up, we find that mom is at work for 8 hours of the day, dad is at work for 8 hours of the day. And as my wife said, if you spend most of your day in 2 different environments, then those 2 different environments are going to mold.
They're gonna clash.
Yeah, they're going to mold the way how you think and behave. So when you come back into your home space, right, if you are in an environment where you have a lot of people who are, let's say, aggressive, let's say you're a soldier, right, and you bring that home, and your wife comes from another,
like,
yeah, right, and probably she's seen other person on her job who are trying to put on this image and whatever, so she comes home with all of that kind of mentality. So we have 2 different worlds coming into
you have
together.
to constantly adapt to 2 different environments every single day, which is not God's plan.
Not God's plan, because it makes you guys coming together as one, solving your problems, understanding each other more difficult.
I know what is so funny? That you're married for probably a year or 2 and time is growing, but you're growing apart
Instead
as
of
time
together.
elapses, and that is bad. That's not good.
So, as I say, we're not saying it's a sin for father to be working and mother to be working at 9 to 5. But what we're saying is that you have to be mindful of how you allow your environment to shape you. Because remember, at the end of the day, it is your family. That's what God gave you. And when God comes back, He's going to ask of us, those of us who are married, or those of us who are parents, what have you done with the flock that I have given you? Right? Did you waste your time trying to build up Caesar's kingdom, or did you spend the time to grow your family? Right? And sometimes I wonder, why is it that you have pastors, elders, people in good standing, yet still their family seems to be so discordant, and their children seem to be so wayward? Sometimes these little things, neglect. We spend so much time out there instead of investing time and energy in the home with our families, right? So that's the appeal for this part of the video, right? Ensure that if you're working a 9 to 5, ensure that you try not to allow that environment to change you or affect you, in the sense that it makes you unfit to work well in your home environment with your wife and children, right? If you have children. And also another thing is that for when it comes down to raising children, the ideal, if you check the Bible, was always that the wives stay home. I'm going to say that again.
It's a very sensitive topic,
Very
but
sensitive.
it is true.
But if you look at the success rate of children who have been tutored by their mothers at home, homeschooled until a certain age before they send them off
For
to
the branch off.
schooling, you recognize that those persons excel way better. And
Way
I'm a
better.
product of that. I was homeschooled for I think the first 5 years of my life, so I kind of started school late.
Me too.
Yeah, her as well. And when I started school, I was just flying. Sometimes I was actually confused why the teacher was testing us on things that in my mind, I didn't really know. Like asking to spell a name.
We're way
write
ahead
a
of the
name,
class.
like,
And this is not any glorification, but this is just a recommendation.
Yeah, and it's just a fact, right? And you find that if you check it out, to children, and not just with school, but their relationship with their parents is much better when you spend that quality time with them when
And
they
with their
are young.
peers also, they're rounded, they're more stabilized.
Yeah. So,
As I said.
and what you think when you carry your child to school at the age of 2, at the age of 3?
They cry.
They cry, and it sometimes
anxiety.
separation anxiety. They were not ready for that. But society tells us that because we have to work the 9 to 5, because we have to pay the bills, we don't have any time to spend time with the child at home. So as soon as the child is off of the breast, some of us will send him off to daycare, and that is not God's plan. And sometimes we have to spend the entire time while a child is under our roof to mend those bonds that were broken when we brought them to the daycare and left them in the influence of somebody else.
And that is why sometimes they're so attached to their teachers and not to their parents.
And to their friends as well.
Right.
And they're more to listen to their friends than to you. Right? So at the end of the day, we know it may not be easy, but I guarantee you, if you do things God's way, He will bless you. There are couples out there where the wife quit her job if she had to quit her job just to spend time with the child at home, and God work things out that the money stretch. Is either the husband get a better job where pay more or whatever. Put God to the test. If you really are interested in building your family and your home into what it needs to be, put God to the test. You'll never go wrong. Right?
Amen.
So quickly before we bring this video to a close, and we spoke about the work environment, you know, the 9 to 5. Another thing is that in the past, the economy was better, just right across the board. So we found that persons were able to feed their families more efficiently. So we found that families could have more children, right? Nowadays, you even have some couples that decided they're not having any children at all because the economy is just so rough.
So tight.
And to train children is so difficult in these days, right? So things have changed where that is concerned, right?
And another thing too is that persons then, you know, see marriage as something good.
Yeah.
Now they see marriage as a risk.
Yeah, right? So, yeah.
Like you're making a big mistake.
Yeah, definitely. And then because of the society, we have less time to spend with our children, then we find that more of our children are going astray, right? As opposed to when we had close-knit families, where we came together at dinner time, ate together, we spoke together, everything was just family
together.
You know?
You know, persons, no persons have any time. They have a meeting to attend, they have a Zoom meeting. You know, the phones.
Yeah.
These things.
Yeah, are eating up a lot of our time. And we have to be careful of these things, right? Because it takes time, just like they say it takes cash to care, it takes time to love. Right? And for those who keep this up, I think guys know what I'm talking about.
And it takes time for a marriage to break apart.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, but let us focus on the positive. So yeah, it takes time to show love. And hopefully God's willing we can even touch on that even when it comes down to sex. Time is a big factor when it comes down to that, and a lot of persons, well, at least I didn't really recognize that until late. Right? So we'll touch on that in probably some further video going on. So yeah, I think that's it for this video.
This is part 1 of marriage then versus marriage now. It's part 1.
Alright, wife speaks. So I hope you guys enjoy. Have a blessed rest of the day whenever you're watching this. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share.